Hello and welcome to the Frans van Kat interview. I'm Annette Young. Across the world, Britain and Commonwealth countries this week are celebrating Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee. That, of course, being marking the time that she spent on the throne, which is some 60 years. Now, it's been 115 years since the United Kingdom last celebrated a Royal Diamond Jubilee. Given that rarity, and not surprisingly, the British are organising a massive number of events to honour one of the world's longest serving leaders. But how is Her Majesty viewed across this side of the Channel? What do the French think of the Queen? Well, with me to answer that question today is French author Isabelle Rivert, who's just published a book about Her Majesty. Isabelle Rivert, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with the fact that, the French got rid of their monarchy some 223 years ago. How do your compatriots therefore view the British monarchy?
Well, I think they got, as you said, rid of their monarchy more than 200 years ago, but they have still kept an interest in monarchs, and maybe especially Queen Elizabeth II, who's proved such a wonderful, extraordinary monarch in 60 years. And I think they have kept something of I wouldn't say nostalgia, but an interest in mystery and magic of monarchy. I think the monarchy here, the history of monarchy, is still very, I wouldn't say in every people's minds, but they are still interested in monarchy.
Do you think they
royalty.
regret having got rid of theirs?
I wouldn't say they regret. I wouldn't say regret, because French people are staunch Republicans, as you know. But they are interested, and also there's always been, this relationship between France and Great Britain. We are sister nations. We were sometimes friends, sometimes not. There's always an interest on both sides of the Channel, an interest in France for everything that's British, an interest probably in British for everything that's French. And, well, isn't the Queen the real embodiment of Britishness?
But how do they view the Queen and the monarchy? Do they see it as some sort of quirky, hangover from a times gone by? Are they looking at it with nostalgic eyes?
No, I think they're more fascinated by her. They're fascinated by royalty, but they are also fascinated by the woman, the individual, who has proved such an incredible monarch in 60 years.
Now, the whole purpose of your book is to write about Queen Elizabeth. What did you find out?
Well, I think I had surprises. Actually, I was more, like many French people, I was maybe more interested in her and as an individual than in the institution of monarchy. But I wanted to know how she worked, who she really was, who were her friends, what her daily life was. And I had surprises. I mean, I was able to, the palace granted me permission to follow the Queen on many official occasions.
Oh, and what did you observe? Because you managed to get up close and personal, didn't you?
Well, I saw her quite closely, and what struck me is that she's 86, but she's an energetic woman. At the same time, she's quite shy. She hasn't lost this shyness that she had when she was a child. She's a humble woman. She's sincerely surprised when, during the Jubilee weekend, they expect millions of people in the streets, and she's still surprised that people want to celebrate her, as they will do, as she personally thinks that she's only done her work, and there's no point in celebrating her like this.
We've heard the sentence a lot: an ordinary woman doing an extraordinary job.
Yeah, she's an I would say, in France we say normal woman placed in a very unusual and extraordinary position.
Do you think you were able to get a real sense of who she is? Because for those of people living in the UK and among the Commonwealth, she's always been a somewhat distant individual. She's always very proper, but not terribly forthcoming. I mean, she can't be, obviously. I mean, she has a very clear position as such, and that she can't talk openly about her opinions. But were you able to get a real sense of who she is?
when she was a child, her grandparents, King George V and Queen Mary, taught her how to behave in public. So, you know, that's why she remained this quite distant figure. But in private, she's a very different woman. She's a great mimic, a very gifted mimic, apparently. She has a great sense of humor. A real sense of fun, and her friends and people, well, people who work with her on a daily basis, one of them told me, I adore her, which tells you exactly what kind of admiration and affection people around her have for her, but for her, not for her as a monarch, but for her as a person, as a woman.
Now, when she assumed the throne 60 years ago, Britain was still recovering from the Second World War. Since then, man has landed on the moon, the Berlin Wall has come down, we've got gay rights, the internet, not to mention the fact that London is now well and truly a multicultural hub. It's an extraordinary time of history that she's presided over, isn't it?
Yes, and she's very sensitive to the fact that society has evolved so much, and she wants, since the beginning of her reign, and people do not realize this, but I give you an example. Every day she received between 200 and 300 letters addressed to her every day, and she asks her ladies in waiting to make a selection of letters, maybe 30 or 40 every day, so that she reads them and she knows exactly on a daily basis what the British people want, what they live, what their life exactly is. When she often says, when they ask me something, if I can do something, I will do anything that I can to help. But she's a queen who really wants to be close, to her subjects. This is something very important to her.
Isabel, as the New York Times writes, this Jubilee marks the robust survival of the British monarchy in a democratic age that long ago consigned similar institutions to the gilded dustbin of history. Why is it that the British monarchy indeed survived?
I think because kings and queens in Great Britain have they reign, but they do not govern Great Britain, so it has always placed them above politics, which put them in a very different position from the French monarch, for instance, who really, governed the state. And so I think it helped the monarchy to survive and to somehow match the evolution of society.
But has the monarchy evolved under her? With her during her time on the throne.
Yeah, monarchy has evolved. The financial side of monarchy has changed a lot. She's done many things to improve the way monarchy functions. Some pomp hasn't changed, but pomp is something that she wanted to preserve because she knows that it makes the magic of monarchy, and that the institution of monarchy needs it. But she has done a lot, even if it hasn't always been recognised, to modernise monarchy.
And it is interesting, if you look back over British history, that the glory days of the monarchy, well, the periods that are best known and best remembered are times when women were on the throne. Queen Elizabeth, the first, Queen Victoria, and now the current queen.
Well, if you want my opinion, I think greatest kings are queens. I interviewed, when I researched the book, I interviewed her former Prime Minister, Sir John Major, and he told me that he always found that a female head of state had qualities that men do not have. Empathy, the way they listen to people makes them very efficient and wonderful heads of states, as the Queen is a head of state of Great Britain. So I think that what makes her reign so wonderful is that also she had the personal qualities that helped her reign be, this extraordinary reign that she had.
And do you think the monarchy is still relevant, particularly to younger people?
I spoke to a constitutional expert not long ago, and he told me that since the opinion polls were created in Britain, I think it was in the 60s, monarchy, and especially Queen Elizabeth II, have kept an exceptionally high level of popularity. It never fell, maybe except, you know, just after the death of Princess Diana.
Because that's when they underwent a crisis as such. And
yeah, well, it was a time when British people never quite understood what happened and why the Queen did react the way she reacted at the time. But it's soon, the popularity of the Queen of the monarchy soon recovered. So it hasn't changed. She has, this is an exceptional, I don't know if we can say that the Queen is a political genius, but in her way, I think she has been.
Isabelle Rivera, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
That's it for this edition of the Frans van Kath interview. Stay tuned for more news and headlines, which are coming up very shortly.